Did you know at a young age refereeing was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I like I said, I kind of just gravitated to that. I always found that interesting. Like if you're watching, used to always watch Saturday morning TV when I was younger, and Dick Worley back then was the guy on TV every Saturday morning here in this area, and he would do like two, three matches on the show that you're watching there Saturday morning. I said, wow, he's doing a lot. That's pretty interesting. A little more than one guy having one match wrestling. You got a referee who's able to work with different people, men, women. Back then, midgets. My actually first match ever was a midget match, which was funny. And but yeah, there was all kinds of different things that you were able to do on the show back then.
So at what point did you go through the proper channels and go, hey, I want to break in, I want to be a referee. How do I get started?
It's actually an interesting to me, interesting story. There's a couple different avenues I went down. I used to work with my dad in a refrigeration company in purchasing in the purchasing department, and we got invited to a lot of different lunches with vendors and companies that we dealt with. And one particular one was at a restaurant locally where it was for, I forget the charity, but there was a lot of local celebrities there, a lot of sports celebrities, local teams, Phillies, Flyers, Eagles. And one of the guys that was there was Gorilla Monsoon. So my boss knew I was so into wrestling. He said, "Oh, you got to go to this and see if you can meet him." Maybe I had talked to my boss saying, "I really want to get involved. I have no idea how to." And he happened to be there. That's why he had me go. So we went to that luncheon, and I always hate telling this part of the story on how I got started because of my experience with him. But Gorilla was there. I went right up to him, and immediately he went into kayfabe mode and really told me nothing. Pats me on the shoulder, and if you work hard and you do the right things, you'll end up getting where you want to be. And really never told me anything about how to get into the business. And then later on, I found out about the Monster Factory, which was very close to my where we lived in Cherry Hill. And at the time, Buddy Rogers was involved with Larry Sharp at the Factory. And I knew Buddy lived in Haddonfield, which was like 10 minutes from my house in Cherry Hill. So one day, Saturday, I went to his house, Buddy Rogers, knocked on his door. He opened it up, invited me in, sat there for an hour talking to me. I asked him how I get in the business because I knew he was involved with the Monster Factory, and he couldn't be nicer, couldn't be more helpful. He said, "Go see Larry Monday, tell him I sent you, and he'll get you going on the right path." So that Monday, I went out to Hallsborough at the time, to the Monster Factory, and Larry wasn't there. He was on vacation. And Dick Burley was there watching the school for him, who was the guy I watched on TV growing up every Saturday morning. And I got talking to Dick. He says, "Well, you were here to see Larry. Larry will be back Friday. So come back and talk to him. If you don't like what you hear, get back to me and we'll talk." So I went back that Friday. Larry was back. Larry brought me into his office and he talked to me. And the only thing Larry wanted to do was how I'm going to pay him, when I'm going to pay him, how much I'm going to pay him. It was all about what I'm paying Larry to get trained. And never once did he say, what did I want to do or how did I go about it? So I kind of left. I said, I'll get back to you. I kind of left there, called Dick the next day. And he said, he just laughed and kind of without saying it. So that's kind of how Larry is. It's all about him getting paid, which I can understand. It's his business. But he says, if you're not happy, I'll be more than happy to train you. You can travel around with me. Back then, the athletic commissions were big in wrestling. And Dick was involved in the PA Athletic Commission, Jersey, New York, Maryland. I traveled all over with him for a year and a half, and then he broke me into the business.
That's amazing, getting the
Yeah.
chance to learn from somebody like Larry Sharp and really, mold talent, who's worked with so many different people. So getting the chance to work with Larry, breaking in the business as a referee, what were some pointers that he gave you that you can recall today?
Well, it wasn't Larry that broke me. It was Dick Rowley that ended up. I was traveling around with Dick. So I really didn't have any conversation after that one night with Larry, other than maybe working for him a few years later with his promotion with Dennis Carluzzo. But Dick Worley was the guy who broke me in and taught me the ways. And I was lucky because traveling with him, he was heavily involved with the NWA. and they were running down in Maryland, Philly, Jersey, all over. And I went down um, with him to a first show I went travel with him was in Maryland, Baltimore Arena, and the main event was the Horsemen in a six-man tag against the Road Warriors and Dusty Rhodes. And I was telling Dick all the way down to Maryland that, my God, I'm here. I'm trying to get into this business because of Dusty Rhodes, and we're talking back and forth about Dusty. We get to the building. We're probably there half hour or so, and Dick calls me over. There's this big stage and curtain where a lot of the boys sat and watched the show, and family would sit up there. And Dick poked his head out the curtain. He waved me over. He said, "Come here," and he pulled me behind the curtain. And there he is. He's got Dusty Rhodes standing there, and Dusty was talking for a few minutes and was really putting Dick really over. You got a good guy here. He'll teach you the right way, and look forward to sometime down the road to work with you, and all the best, and patted me on the butt and the way you went, but he couldn't have been nicer. And it was just so cool being able to meet him after. That's the guy I wanted to see
Yeah, your
when I was,
hero.
yeah. So